The Prismatic, Part 1. Copyright 2024, Reno, Nevada. Chapter 1. Ascension. Holding up his upper left arm, Jack attempted to conjure fire as only the elementalists could do. Though his skin was gray, the young mystic mimicked the very same motions his second parent just performed while making breakfast. No one, including Jack himself, was surprised by his upper left arm not producing flame. He grinned and shrugged. "Jack," the red-skinned parent turned around, ceasing their breakfast preparation, "do you have any big plans for your last day before growing up?" His upper two hands were wringing a washcloth, while his lower hands held some krana. Mill was an elementalist, not a time weaver, so Mill's philosophy consisted of time management, and even while talking to his only child, he refused to not keep his hands busy. Jack rubbed his chin to give an appearance of contemplation, more than actually giving Mill's question real thought. I thought I want to learn how to do every kind of magic." His obvious enthusiasm to the prospect made Mill chuckle. "Oh?" Mill's patronizing tone went over Jack's head. "You can never be too prepared." He turned around and continued cooking. His lower palms radiated heat that seared the krana plant. "I want to cook." Mill raised an eyebrow and ceased the cooking process. "If your skin turns red tonight, you can do the cooking in the future." His palms resumed their illumination, which Jack stared at, taking in the sight. He had never really paid any attention to how food was cooked until this moment. Jack's eyes watched in wonder. Mill heated the krana with nothing more than fiery heat from his very palms. Jack's lower hands held nothing as he positioned them the same way his parent did, copying the krana cooking process. Mill glanced back and smiled at the childish gesture, though his eyes betrayed the mouth motion. "Come on, you can teach me a little something." Mill shrugged. "All right. Well, for starters, you are copying my hand movements. That doesn't matter for being an elementalist. What does matter is how you feel." "Oh, yeah, elementalists rely on emotions." Jack relaxed his hands, feeling embarrassed for forgetting one of the most common of knowledges. Mill placed the sizzling vegetable onto the top of a pile of already cooked krana. "Breakfast!" Mill called out to the rest of the household. From the room to Jack's right, a blue-skinned person walked in. "Morning, Jack." "Morning, Zed." Zed sat at the table, and Jack joined him. From the left room, a green-skinned person walked in. "Jack, Zed, Mill." They nodded and also sat down at the four-chair table. "Good morning, Norg," Jack responded. Mill placed the plate of krana in the middle of the table. Jack rushed to take the first one. His teeth sunk into the succulent soft flesh of the vegetable. Not even 2 bites into the meal, and there was a knock on the door. "Come in, Sai," Norg said. The door opened, and a gray-skinned person walked in. "How did you know it was me?" Zed chuckled. "It's always you, Sai. Take a seat." His blue feet shuffled back and forth while his 4 hands moved rhythmically. Zed took the krana in a blur, snatching it up, and devoured it in less than 1 second. Moving faster than any of the others could keep up, Zed was suddenly behind Sai, ushering him to the now vacant seat. "Yeah, that. I want to understand how you do that," Jack said, sounding more like he was protesting than requesting. Zed cocked his head, confused. Jack, you're still gray, and you don't even know if you'll be blue, red, green, or orange tonight." "I can't be too prepared," Jack mustered Mill's previous statement. Zed nodded his approval, or perhaps he was merely humoring his child. "All right, you can watch me make tomorrow's food. I'll wait for you outside." With a flash, Zed was gone. The door was heard opening and closing, but not seen. Jack, still eating his breakfast, rushed to go out. Nord grabbed him by one of his left arms. "Not so fast, young one. Time weavers are impatient, and Zed is no exception. But as your parent, I insist you finish your breakfast and not rush like he does. I really don't want you to choke." Sai sat back in his chair, chewing his food with a wide grin. Jack caught the subtle mockery from his friend, but ignored it. He fumed, but didn't argue as he continued to eat the meal. Jack and Sai walked out of the multi-room hut. The tip of the green moon could be seen on the horizon setting. On the opposing horizon, the sun was fully risen, but still at the bottom of the sky. Across from his home, just beyond the dirt road, were huts that lined the birthing pods. A brief memory ran across Jack's recollection from when he himself emerged from one of those pods. His vague remembrance recalled the dark interior and his 4 baby arms beating on the inner wall of the pod, and 2 red, blue, and green arms pulled him out, allowing his first real sight being of his 3 parents. Jack allowed the thought to flow away. He turned his attention to Zed, just behind their home. Other mystics were behind their own huts, each performing the same task, but in their own way. Zed wasn't waiting for his child. He was already dancing around the plot of farmland they cultivated each and every day. The blue blur that was Zed raced in circles, zigzagging back and forth. On occasion, he would stand still in a pose for both dramatic purposes and actual farming reasons. "As you can see, Jack," Zed called out, "I am utilizing my time weaving via dance, which you already knew. However, I'm using this particular dance, which is called the Scramble." Zed positioned his footing, slowing down to show the 2 adolescents. "I'm growing tomorrow's food, you know. Some towns don't have any time weavers, if you can believe that. They have to grow their food over a long period of time. With me, though, I would hate that. I'm so happy I could just do this." His feet glowed as they maneuvered back and forth. The blue illumination twinkled around the seedlings in the ground that he planted prior to the 2 kids exiting the hut. A root sprouted and Zed sped up his movements. Neither Jack nor Sai could keep up. "You just move like this, and then voila! Freshly grown Krana." He looked at Jack and Sai, expecting their approval or amazement. Instead, the 2 shrugged, uncaring at the magical feat that they have observed every single day of their entire lives. "Well, since my daily work is done now, I'll see you guys in the fields for some games later." Zed didn't wait for a reply. He zoomed away. "Did you see how he did any of that?" Jack asked. "Nope." "Dude, I want to learn all of the magic. I know I'll only be one color, but I don't want to fumble my first attempt at magic tonight." Sai nodded his agreement. "If we can't figure out how to do anything with time weaving, at least not right now, maybe we should figure out how to conjure fire if we end up as red elementalists." "Red elementalists? Do you think there are blue or green elementalists?" Jack's puerile sarcasm made Sai feel stupid. "Shut up!" Jack giggled. "Fine. I'll help you learn fire." Sai punched Jack in the upper right shoulder. "Hey, what's that for? Why'd you do that?" Jack rubbed his shoulder. I want you mad. That's how elementalists make fire. You get mad." "You could have warned me. How are you going to make me sad so I can control rocks?" You're a loser and will never accomplish anything?" Sai's attempt to make his friend depressed was only met with Jack shaking his head disappointed. "Come on, be serious. That's dumb. I don't think you can just make me sad on a whim." What about air and water? Surely we can command happiness and fear." "Games are fun. We could just go play with Zed and the others," Sai suggested. Jack waved his hand, dismissing the notion. "Maybe later. Come on, Sai, we grow up tonight. We don't have time to play today." "You sound like a time weaver. Maybe you should learn some dances." Don't have time to play. Sai made a tisk sound at the very notion. Jack sighed. Fine, one game, but we're at the very least going to make someone teach us something. That's very grown up of you, Jack, Sai remarked. Jack could not tell if it was sarcasm or not. They joined a game in an open field just on the outskirts of the village, which involved one summoner versus 4 children. The green-skinned summoner did what summoners do. They summoned 3 of their chargers. 3 spectral figures appeared. Jack tried to get the green mystic to explain anything, but he was too absorbed in his game. Jack and Sai joined them, but had to be on the opposing teams. An hour went by, and neither Jack nor Sai could deduce anything about how summoners work beyond what everyone already knew. Summoners relied on concentration in order to summon and maintain their charges. The summoner they were playing with managed to explain after the game that most summoners can only summon 1 or 2 at a time, and when they do that, they rarely can use their own body beyond basic functions. Yeah, but how do you get charges? Do you get them automatically or learn how to summon them? Jack asked. The summoner waved his hand dismissing the question and then ran off to play a different game with other mystics. The 2 gave up. Sai sat down at the top of the hill overlooking the village. Maybe we shouldn't care. Perhaps we should just keep playing games like everyone else, Sai suggested. Banish that thought, Jack said. Sai shrugged. I guess. Hey, do you ever wonder what would happen if nothing happened tonight? Jack didn't know how to respond. He fumbled with his words. Huh? What? What do you mean? Like tonight, when the 4 moons rise and people grow up and gain their magic, what if I don't ascend to adulthood? What gave you that idea? Sai shook his head. It's dumb, I know, but I had this dream last night. Sai paused, giving Jack a chance to interject. Jack said nothing. Well, in my dream, I didn't turn into any sort of mystic. I'm not following you. I mean, I get that you had a weird dream where you didn't grow up, but instead just stayed a kid with gray skin forever? It's just a dream. It's not that freaky, to be honest. I had a weird dream last night, too. I dreamed that I saw demons and lunar shapeshifters battling, like in that great war 1,000 years ago. It was crazy stuff. Jack stood up and pointed to a hut. Let's go! Learn about healing magic! Sai had a look in his eyes that wanted to say more. Jack didn't see. They moved to that particular hut during their walk, if walk is what someone would call it. They moved in a dance fashion, trying to mimic a simple dance time weavers would do in order to speed up their bodies to move faster. It looked ridiculous on the 2 children moving at regular speed. Soon enough, they reached their destination. A weathered sign hung next to the entrance, held up by a wooden pole. The sign had one word, which in their language was a singular symbol of 2 overlapping circles. Their entire written language consisted of various circles overlapping in various ways. There is a different symbol for any kind of message one might convey, but the written language only consisted of nouns. You know, the people in the cities would only laugh at your uncivilized behavior, and then nod their arrogant heads at their confirmation of how they believe all village folks are not much different than the beasts that roam the wilds. Jack and Sai stopped walking in and stared at the orange mystic in the room holding a glass orb. He sighed. Knock before entering, children. You're supposed to grow up tonight, so we're going to need you to mature faster than that. Maybe the 2 processed the advice, but to the healer's perspective, they ignored it. Teach us about healing magic, Jack said. A word of advice, children. If you want something from someone, the way to go about it isn't to burst into their home and workplace and demand the thing you want. Sai stepped in front of Jack. Please teach us about healing magic. He said it without sarcasm. Every cycle
there are always a few of you young ones that want to get a head start on learning whatever magic you get. At least you're going about it smartly, not setting your minds on any one specific type of magic. You could end up as any of the four, if you want to learn a little something about all of them. He looked at them to make sure they were listening. The two absorbed every word. He smiled to himself, but didn't show it. I can teach you a great deal about healing magic, and should one or even both of you end up as healers, I will be the one to train you until you embark on your journey to the healer capital to the furthest south of the continent. I have a book on the basics just on my shelf over there. Jack and Cy immediately started to move to that very bookshelf. Hold it right there! The healer stopped them in their tracks with just his words. Jack and Cy looked back at him. Yes, with no effort from me, I would let you use that book and absorb its knowledge. My personal library is precisely that, my personal library. Books are not easy to obtain, and very few know how they are made, including myself. I won't let just anyone touch my precious books. Jack turned to him and placed all four of his arms akimbo while scolding the healer. Why did you even tell us if you aren't going to let us learn? I want you to do something for me first. Jack relaxed his face, but not his arms. He wants us to go on a quest, Jack. To which Jack nodded his approval. Send us on your quest, O great healer of the humble village of Pine. The healer stood up and walked to them. He handed Jack the orb he was holding the entire time. Take this book to the village elder. Don't read it. We'll know if you do. Will you do this for me? Absolutely, Jack and Cy said together. Clutching the book, the two rushed out of the door at the same time, almost wedging themselves in the process, but twisted their bodies sideways to avoid the clash. They sprinted down the dirt street. In their minds, they felt like time weavers pretending to fold time to their advantage, moving at supersonic speeds. In truth, they ran at a normal pace. Being a small village meant their run was not far. They reached the elder, and they looked at each other, sharing the same thought, but with but a glance. We could read this book. Both shook their heads, dismissing the notion. Neither refused to be the follower. They both knocked on the wooden door. The wrinkled elder opened it. He was adjusting his ceremonial mask, which covered the majority of his face. The mask did not cover his mouth. It had 4 protruding extremities upon it. Each extension was shaped according to the magic it represented, and color in the same fashion. Time blue, summon green, elemental red, and healing orange. Each of the 4 had the simple symbol to additionally represent themselves, those overlapping circles as their written language went. The mystics did not rely heavily on their written language. To the most part, they were verbal to one another. Should written messages longer than one word need to be conveyed, they utilized their unique book orbs, which Jack handed to the elder. The elder, without so much as a word of thanks, snatched the orb with no expression upon his face, as if Jack and Cy's sole purpose in their life were to serve this elder. Their annoyance they did not show. With all 4 hands clutching the book, his eyes squinted in concentration. A thin stream of yellow magic exited the orb, then swirled around itself prior to moving through the air and to the mind of the elder. His eyes glazed over in the shortest of moments, and then the stream returned to its source. He focused his eyes, and then looked at the 2 gray-skinned ones standing in front of his door. It's probably nothing, he said, responding to whatever information his mind just absorbed. Tell the healer my thanks. I will see you two very soon. He closed the door, not waiting for a response. Jack and Cy shrugged, and then returned to the healer. I'm glad you can complete a task and follow instructions, he said. They waited for their reward. Come with me. He walked to his bookshelf containing dozens of orbs, each sitting on a soft cushion. reaching for a specific one that had a circular symbol inscribed upon it that translated to the basics of healing. He picked it up and handed it to Jack and Sai, who both held it, each refusing to let the other be the first to learn. The knowledge streamed into two separate yellow threads of magic. Children have no patience. You'd both make great time weavers. You should know that when you do that, the knowledge becomes watered down due to more than one mind accessing it. The two ignored that, but focused on the information. To Jack, he formulated mathematical algorithms, consisted of basic math. Everything else became a blur. Meanwhile, Sai received the details of basic healing and basic anatomy, with none of the math attached. Things like, using this formula, you can close a wound that would normally require stitches, and with this algorithm, you can treat an abrasion. The stream of yellow magic returned to its source. I don't understand. Sai, let me have the orb, Jack said. I also don't understand. Jack, let me have the orb, Sai responded. The two began to fight over the book, each attempting to tug it away from the other. Hey, be careful. Books are delicate, the healer said. With that, both gave in to the other, letting go. The orb fell to the wooden floor and smashed into broken glass. With eyes wide open, the healer was speechless. His mouth opened to say something, but no sound exited from that orifice. Jack and Sai cringed, then sprinted away as quickly as possible to escape the wrath of the healer. Not until they reached the hill overlooking the village did they turn around. The healer was not pursuing them. I don't think he'll teach us more, a ragged-voiced Jack said. I hope we don't become healers solely to avoid him. Come on, Jack waved his hand for Sai to follow. It's dinner time. They made their way down the hill towards the home. Jack was in front, so he couldn't see the worried expression on his friend's face. They sat at the same table, and Mill was almost done preparing the meal. Mill's face held a worried look. His eyes were closed as the krana in his four hands formed a thin layer of ice. He placed the newly frozen vegetable on a pile of similarly frozen others, then placed the plate in the middle of the table. Go get your other parents. They're playing in the field just outside. Like most other elementalists, Mill took things seriously. Being the only elementalist in the family, they were the one relied upon to do all of the cooking. Even though all they ate was krana, Mill could heat or freeze it with their magic. Jack stepped outside. Zed and Norg were the only ones in the field. Norg greatly outnumbered Zed 5-1. Utilizing their summons, Norg commanded 4 beasts to chase Zed around for the game they played. Mystics have more time on their hands than most other life forms in the universe. The games they come up with are vast and abundant. They made up a new game daily, while at the same time embraced some games for a lifetime. The game they played was classic gladiator style. Zed combated the beasts on his own, but with his Time Weaver speed, he held the advantage even against 4 opponents. Beasts are of one variety of this world. Like most other life, they have a finite lifespan. The longer they live, the bigger they become. That is, until they become too big that they require a great amount of food to continue to live and eventually starve to death due to the inability to gain enough food to sustain themselves. Never do they become larger than a house and live longer than a few more months. Beasts have 6 legs, a rough, scaly yet furry exterior, and a powerful maw that can clamp down, crush, and bite through virtually anything or anyone. Norg commanded 4 of these beasts as his chargers. Norg himself wasn't moving due to the concentration on his charges. The goal of this game was for Zed to either reach Norg and merely touch him to claim victory, or for any of Norg's charges to pin Zed to the ground. Zed circled around Norg and his summons. Those beasts had their master surrounded, with their backs to him, covering all sides. Zed searched for an opening, while Norg focused on an opportunity to strike. One beast finally lunged at Zed, but missed. Zed easily avoided it with his serpentine movements. He moved in to claim victory. "Hey, it's dinner time!" Jack called out. Zed turned to Jack and faltered. A second beast seized the opportunity and lunged at him, pinning him to the ground. The thing licked his face, making Zed groan with disgust. "Ha! I win!" Norg declared. He dismissed the charges. They vaporized into green smoke. Even the saliva on Zed's face went with them. Each sat at the table. An extra chair from another room was brought in, and everyone dined on frozen krana. The crunch could be heard with every bite. "You two excited about tonight?" Norg asked. Zed snorted. "It's all they've talked about." Mill shot Zed a look telling him to be nicer. Zed straightened himself in his chair, then turned to Sai. "You look nervous. Don't be. I remember when I ascended a long time ago." Zed was already relaxing again in his chair. "Me, Mill, and Norg here were the best of friends, and we knew no matter what we turned into, we would live together forever. A bit predictable, but we're happy that we conceived Jack here. We thought about having more kids, but you're a handful, son." Zed winked at Jack. "Maybe the two of you will have kids of your own," Mill said, as much as asked. "Though a child with only two parents is pretty rough to bring up." "I never knew my parents," Sai commented. The three adults cringed. Sorry, Sai," Zed said. There's nothing wrong with being adopted. The people that raised you have done so with love, compassion, and care. Honestly, so far as I'm concerned, they're your parents, all four of them." Sai half smiled. Jack elbowed his friend. Sai looked at Jack, smiled without comment. The Ascension Ceremony. A large bonfire burned at the center of the village. Lined up on one side stood every gray adolescent of the village of Pine. Forming a circle past the children stood every member of the community in no particular pattern. Reds, blues, and greens waited silently and patiently. The sky was already dark, and the four moons inched their way to the top of the sky from their converging directions. Lunar harmony was about to commence. The village elder walked a slow and proud pace to the other side of the fire and faced the anxious children. He has done this countless times, though this was the first time these participants witnessed this. "Tonight," he began, "you will no longer be gray. By the power of our moons, you will be more. All of you starting tomorrow, after you celebrate tonight, will embark on your own personal journey. Some will go as far as the city of June to master your healing magic. Others may just find that Cadence is your destination to understand the secrets of time weaving. No doubt summoners will be among you to go to Genpar. But no matter how far you travel, no matter how many beasts and darklings you must face, you will always know that you have a place in this world. By the moons, step forward." He pointed at the first gray-skinned one at the far right of Sai and Jack. They stepped forward. While it was never hidden, the staff the elder held was never noticed. He lifted it, pointed it directly at the first to ascend. The red moon brightened and shot a beam of crimson light down, enveloping the person. Everyone witnessed his skin radiate and change. The light vanished as quickly as it had appeared. He looked at his hands, turning them over with wonder and amazement. I'm an elementalist! They attempted to conjure fire, but were too overjoyed by the moment to be angry. Instead, a gust of wind swirled around them. They shrugged and accepted the wind as an unintended victory. He then joined the other adults in the circle behind. The elder pointed at the next child and said the same words. The same thing happened. They stepped forward and allowed the light of the moon to bathe upon them. However, this time the light was blue from the blue moon. Again, they had the same reaction of awe and wonder. This person, however, was a little more prepared and started a sweeping dance to which the bonfire before them was affected. The flames slowed down, moving at less than a quarter of its normal speed. The blue magic swirled, and the moment they stopped the dance, the flames reverted to normal. This one, too, joined the adults. On and on it went, until finally it was Jack's turn. He briefly glanced at Cy with an excited eye. Jack was too distracted to notice Cy's distraught face. His friend was nervous in a bad way. Some horrible thought lay in his mind. Jack stepped forward, fully prepared to embrace his future. No amount of preparation could ready him for what happened next. Light from the moons, not one moon, but all 4 moons, shot down, striking Jack like lightning. It did not caress him like it did the others, but struck him with a surge of pain and real electricity. Blue, red, green, and orange all stabbed into him, forcing the magic into him. Everyone was aghast by the sight. No one ever imagined this could happen. The light was relentless and far longer than what occurred prior to the others. Some took a step back in horror, while others stepped forward, wanting to help but having no way of doing so. The elder frantically waved their staff in the most useless of fashions. They could not focus their mind on healing magic they desperately wanted to utilize. The lunar light ceased. Jack lay on the ground, helpless, but alive and awake. He breathed heavily. Jack slowly stood up. No one approached him. All stared at him with a shocked expression. I did not expect that. Did it hurt like that for you guys too? It looked pleasant for everyone. Jack noticed everyone's silence, and he cocked his head in confusion. What? One person pointed to Jack with their mouth wide open, making no sound. What? Jack looked at his hands, and he himself nearly passed out from the sight, turning his hands over and over with confusion. No green, no red, no orange, and no blue. Gray. His skin was still gray. How is this? The elder composed himself and placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. Everyone calm down. The crowded murmurs did not cease. Everyone, I know what has happened. I just never thought this would. It's okay. Jack is not the type of mystic like the rest of us. Clearly, but why am I still a child? Why am I gray? Jack is every kind of mystic. Everyone stopped talking, whispering and murmuring. In unison, they gasped at the revelation. Maybe Jack has a great purpose ahead of him, or maybe this is just a freak accident. No one can say, not even me. Zed! The elder called out for Zed. Zed, with his incredible speed, rushed forward. Zed, as the fastest Time Weaver, I need you to go to Rask and deliver this news to the Council of Elementalists. They will then send you elsewhere. Here, take this. He pulled out a piece of paper that held one symbol, 4 overlapping circles, each equally spaced from each other, was stamped on that paper. I've always had this just in case this day ever arrived. Go now. Waste no time. I fear there is precious little of it. Zed did not hesitate. He took the paper and was off, he himself being just as confused as everyone else. The elder turned to everyone once again with his hands in the air. Explanations can come later. The moons will only be in alignment for a short while longer. We must finish the ceremony. Sigh, Step forward. Jack didn't know whether to join the adults or return to his place in the line, so he simply stayed standing, dumbfounded. No one guided him. Everyone avoided him, returning their attention to the elder and Sai. The elder said the same words as before, as if nothing new has occurred. Sai, up until this moment, avoided eye contact with anyone. Shame etched across his face. Then he looked up directly into the elder's eyes. Tears streamed down his face. He was crying the entire time. Some might have expected jealousy, or maybe anger or resentment. Sai bore a sadness that none could explain. Then something even more unexpected occurred. Light came down, but not light from the 4 moons. Yellow light from an unseen source in the middle of the 4 moons flooded down, consuming Sai. When the light receded, Sai was yellow. He looked at his hands and was not surprised by the tone of his skin. He instead screamed in pain, clutching his head. A yellow magic emanated from him that no one had ever witnessed. It streamed out of his frame and struck Mill. Mill was shocked by the effect, and their eyes turned solid yellow. "I can't control it!" Sai screamed out his warning. "Demon!" The elder regained his composure, but it was too late. The magic that held Mill took control of their powers, and Mill went berserk. Flames shot out in every direction, consuming every hut and striking every person. The newly ascended Time Weavers were untrained and could not defend themselves. Norg jumped between Mill and Jack, shielding their child. "I give this to you," Norg said to Jack. Jack did not understand. The bonfire erupted by the command of Mill. A fireball struck Norg, causing the 2 of them to fly off in the distance. With that, everything went black for Jack. End of Chapter 1.